So I kind of took like 4 years off. Now that I'm 66 and a half, I can get back to work and pretty funny. But so that brings up a great question. So a little bit about myself. I got into the non-performing note business about 19 years ago, and I was going to real estate meetings and hearing all the different presentations, all the different speakers. I was, talking about apartment buildings, talk about single family rentals and duplexes. I ended up buying myself a couple of two-family homes very early on, and I still have them to this day. And then I came across this non-performing note business. And that's kind of evolved now from non-performing notes into performing notes and into cash flows. And it's been a hell of a ride. I gotta tell you, 19 years of looking for something that's better than this business. That's how excited I am. And that's how I'm excited I am for you guys. Because I remember hearing about it for the first time, and I'm like, holy crap, man, I gotta record this. And I started recordings and keeping track of the recordings and listening to my mentor that we signed up for a program. And it was fantastic. We were buying, in my opinion, we were buying money at 40 cents on a dollar, meaning I'm spending 40 cents to get a dollar's worth of product. Um, that just blew me away. And it really got me away from the real estate business. I had my rentals, and here I am talking to these borrowers that were very similar to my tenants. My tenants said, oh, yeah, I can't pay the rent this month. My transmission blew up. And I'm like, all right, let's work through this. Let's figure something out. And so now I'm talking to homeowners that they can't pay their mortgage or the monthly payment that they're making is too expensive. And so it was really the same thing. Uh, I'm out there solving problems. That's usually where you make the most money. Whether problems for you're solving little problems, you're solving really big problems. When you're solving mortgage problems, these are really big problems that people are having. A car payment is one thing, but a mortgage payment, that's their house. That's their place that they live, their family lives there. And I was really getting into being able to help people stay in their house. That was, like I said, 19 years ago. And I really took to this business because, like I said, I was helping my tenants out with their problems, and that's what I loved about this. I had a mentor once. He said, if you can figure out what problems people are having and you could solve those problems, those consultants make the most money. If you could figure out how to help out Bendix Aerospace keep more planes in the air, you're going to get paid the big bucks. And this note investing business is that problem. This has now evolved into, and I'm going to get into this later in this call, where we are in the note space these days, as far as availability of notes, how we can still take advantage of the note business and enjoy the benefits of the note business, which is just amazing. Um, so let me turn this off here. Bear with me one second, folks. There we go. Okay. Let me just put this up over here. Speaker view. That's right. And this stuff always happens when you're trying to do 10 things at once. Okay. So I don't know if you can see my face or not. It's not important. So let's get into the non-performing note business and the performing note business. Back in 2008 and 9, when we had the mortgage debacle that we had, there was approximately a 9% default rate. It seemed like it was a lot higher, but we had a 9% default rate in this country, meaning 9% of all the mortgages that were written were in default. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days late. Some were late a year, some were late 2 years. And we got to a point where the worst of it was at about a 9% default rate. Right now, the way banks are talking to their investors, they calculate a 4% default rate. They build that right into their prospectus. 4% default rate is normal. Some banks, they're at 3%, some are at 5%, but 4% is the average on a typical year where there is not a mortgage debacle like we had in 2008 and 9. So that means that there's still non-performing notes out there that banks need to get off of their books. I'm not going to get into the particulars of why banks actually get rid of their non-performing notes, but there's very good reasons why these banks trade this bad paper with each other at a discount. And that's what I want to get into a little bit. So, when a bank makes a decision to get rid of some of their non-performing notes, it's up to us as investors to look at their assets and say, you know what, this is something I really want. You have to take what they give you. If the loans are in Des Moines, Iowa, you got to take it. You can't just say, well, I only want ones that are in my backyard. I see a lot of note investors struggle with this because it's tricky. Um, you are now dealing with a state that you're not familiar with, foreclosure laws. You don't have an attorney in that state. And so, like I said, for the last, I think I've been teaching this business about 14 years now. And I've built up quite a network of note investors that I use as a resource. And for not only for vendors and attorneys, but also for product and finding actual product that we can purchase and then work ourselves. When we purchase non-performing notes, it's really all about the due diligence, right? Like we look at this thing, we make an assessment, and we say, you know what? This $75,000 balance, we think 40,000 of that is recoverable, or some percentage of that total balance. And that is due to equity, that's due to location, that's due to, if it's a junior lien, it's due to the amount that the first mortgage is holding, and now we're buying behind that first mortgage, buying a second mortgage. And that's part of our due diligence. And I've gotten to the point where I've looked at so many notes now that I can help somebody just say in 2 minutes that note is worth 10 cents on the dollar. This note is worth 60 cents on the dollar because I've looked at so many freaking notes. Um, 19 years now. So So that's been a very important thing. So anyway, a little bit back to this non-performing note business. If we come across a pool of notes, whether it's with a student or one of you folks, we sit down and do this due diligence as quickly as we can using all the different tools that we put together over the years, reading credit reports and title reports, pulling information from county records. It's a little bit technical. It's actually quite a bit technical, but the trick is when we get one of these notes performing again, oh, hold on, folks, I'm horrible at this. When we get one of these loans performing, there we go. That loan technically, typically stays performing for the life of the loan. I'm talking about a 20-year cash flow, sometimes a 30-year cash flow. And that money just comes in to our bank account through an ACH. And we just keep an eye on, hey, that money just cleared, that check just came through and it cleared. Or we use the ACH with the software that I'm very fond of. And we go on to work on the next loan, get that one performing. And it just goes on and on like that. Um, we get one performing. So my wife and I run this business with our kids as well, and they'll pull up five notes and say, you know what? I think we need to start working on these five, and we'll get one of them to start reperforming. And now we've got four of them going in some type of a process. And the process is typically this. We perform our due diligence, we wire the money to whoever is selling us the notes, whether it's a hedge fund, whether it's a bank. We've been buying off of banks now for, shoot, 17 years, I think. And we wire the funds, and then the collateral files come in, and now we sit down and review the collateral files. We go through it page by page, usually an electronic PDF, and we see what's missing and what has been sent to us. And then we probably need to go back to whoever sold us those notes and say, listen, we're still missing this, that, and the other thing. And that's part of our after the closing due diligence. We do an assessment of what actually was sold, sent, and then we've got 90 days, usually in a purchase and sale agreement, to go back and ask for this document and that document because it wasn't included. Um, then we take this loan, and that's part of our boarding process, bringing it into our system. We bring these files into our system. We use certain software for that, and we're able to share that software through the network so that we're all looking at this at the same time. And we're working by email. My daughter and son live in North Carolina. My wife sits right behind me over here, so she's close enough to say, hey, pull up this document. We need to review this and that. And we get the loan boarded into our system in these softwares, accounting software and document management software. And then we make a decision, you know what? We need to start foreclosure and get this borrower to start making payments. So I'll look at the note. I see it's in Des Moines, Iowa. I get in touch with my network. I say, does anybody have a good attorney for the state of Iowa? I'll get 4 or 5 responses, uh, usually in some type of an interview to say, well, were you really happy with them? And hopefully they were. Then I contact that attorney and say, listen, I've got this note. Here's the proof that we technically own it. We've got chain of assignments, comes right to my company, whether it's my business company or my retirement account. In that entity, we've got 4 or 5 different entities that we buy these things in. And then my wife and my daughter now become attorney managers. They're managing the attorney. There's 3 elements to this business. It's borrower management, attorney management, and if we're using a servicer, servicer management. I've been able to eliminate the servicing aspect of it. So now I only have two things to manage, attorney management and borrower management. Right now, the attorney is working, doing 100% of the communication with the borrower. We let the attorney know, hey, this is our perfect outcome. We want this borrower to start performing. We want this borrower to stay in the house. I don't want a house in Des Moines, Iowa, for sure. And we just took a house back last week, which we don't want. But we got a nice house in Akron, Ohio, but that's another story. Um, if we go all the way to foreclosure and end up taking the house, we've all failed. We've failed with our attorney management. We've failed with our borrower management because the last thing we want is to take someone's house. That's been our business model for quite a few years now. I don't want a house in Akron, Ohio. Now I have to get boots on the ground. I've got a guy now who's driving past the house. The borrower did just move out, and it's just a hassle. If you're looking for real estate, this is probably not the way to get real estate because you're going to get borrowers that want to work with you. And don't kick me out of my house for a $70,000 second mortgage. And that's usually the communication that we have. So now my wife and my daughter are handling the attorney, making sure that every document that goes out to the borrower is correct because there's a lot of error in attorneys' offices. And we've done these things hundreds of times now. So we know what to expect and we want to see before these documents get mailed out if they are correct or not, because a lot of times they aren't. And now we work this thing through to a final result of are they going to pay us? We try to get as much of our purchase price back as soon as possible so that we can take that money and go buy more loans. So if we purchase a loan, we purchase $70,000 loan for 30 grand, and there's $15,000 worth of arrears with the borrower. That means they owe 70 on the unpaid principal balance, and then they owe another 15 in all of the monthly payments that they've missed for the last 3 years. Then we'll pursue that $15,000 to get as much of that back as possible. And sometimes it's through it might be part of their retirement account. We try to get as much back as possible so that we're getting an infinite return. These monthly payments are going to come in. So like we just had a borrower that we paid $8,000 for the note, and we've managed to get the borrower to give us $1,000 a month for the last 6 months. He's got one more payment to go, And we'll only be out of pocket now 2 grand on this note. And the payments of $400 a month are going to come in for the next, I don't know, 15 years, something like that. And we're only out of pocket 2,000 bucks. That's a sweet return. And we're allowing these people to stay in their house because we bought this loan at a discount. I think we bought $30,000 worth of debt for 8,000 bucks. It's a little house in Cleveland, Ohio, but these people need a place to live. And we bought this from a hedge fund that was actually winding out of their last portfolio that they worked on. And we now have this cash flow, myself and one of my students, of 400 bucks a month coming in for the next 15 years, and we're splitting $200 a month. That's sweet on an $8,000 investment. Let's compare that to a rental property. Most rental properties, when you first purchase them, they're only going to positive cash flow like maybe 300 or 400 bucks a month. That's a good one. If you're getting 400 bucks a month, you've got taxes and insurance that you've got to cover. $400 a month clear net profit is a good rental property. I don't know how many of you folks have looked into rentals or actually own rentals. In the first 5 or 10 years, they don't cash flow so hot. If they did, the previous seller would have kept it for themselves, usually. When I compare rentals to the note business, for an $8,000 investment, to get something cash flowing 400 bucks a month after I get my $6,000 back, I haven't found a better business. I have not found anything close to this business. Now, when this hedge fund bought these 20 loans, I know the whole story because they were my student. I remember these loans and I remember this problematic portfolio. Let's just say that these loans were rough and they were nationwide on these little dumpy houses all over the country, just like this little house in Cleveland. But there's real people living inside these houses. And they managed to get that portfolio up and running. I should say we managed. They bought my one-on-one education program because they needed help. And this one-on-one education program allowed them to turn this portfolio around into cash flow. And this was the last couple of notes. And this one that we ended up buying was not performing when we bought it. And I don't know why they didn't keep it because this borrower is a sweetheart. He's just a really nice, down on his luck kind of guy. And he was very thankful that we forgave him $2,000 worth of debt. If he could come up with this 6 grand, he owed us eight. And we were able to forgive that debt. And now this thing is going to pay until, let's see, I'll be 97 when this guy pays off. Um, I don't know what other hands-off passive income business is out there that is secured by real estate. If this guy stops paying or something happens and I need to foreclose to protect my investor, um, I have the ability to foreclose because this is a legitimate mortgage and we have the right to protect our investments. It's just like another deal where we had a borrower who had a rich uncle, and the rich uncle said, "You know what? I'm just going to give these guys 60 grand and get this loan off." So I called the rich uncle. I said, "Just so you know, I can sell you this mortgage for this $60,000 and you can hold on to it because this lien is already attached to your niece and nephew's house. And who knows? You could always take the thing and record a satisfaction and get them off the hook. But if I were you, I would accept this loan document and have it, we'll record the assignment, we'll help you out with the assignment, get the assignment recorded, and you could just hold on to that mortgage. You don't have to act on it, you don't have to do anything. And if the shit hits the fan, which sometimes it does, when there's money involved and the family is involved, you can always start foreclosure and protect your $60,000 investment. He didn't do it. I'm like, man, you should take my course. Um, but I was able to offer him that security. He said there's no way I'd ever foreclose on my niece and nephew, and I get that. And so we just created the satisfaction, got that recorded because he paid us off, and that was a beautiful thing. And he did a nice thing for his niece and nephew, and now they're living mortgage free, which was, a nice thing for him to do. So having these mortgages in your portfolio, non-performing, we purchase them, we get one working, and we start working on another one. And then we start working on another one. And now you've got all these people paying you from all these different directions for we've been accumulating these things for 19 years now. So I have them inside my retirement account, outside my retirement account, partnered with students. I let the students pay for half of the note, and they get the benefit of working alongside us to see exactly what we're doing with these assets. And we're all getting cash flow off of these things. Now, if you're looking for a bigger cash flow, and I know that we have $400 a month coming in off of this Cleveland note. If I take out my financial calculator, and I'm actually going to do this because I said I was going to do an advanced webinar here. This is going to be pretty advanced. So let me zoom in so that okay. So this is a financial calculator that we use. Um, so let's say that $400 a month, we'll just say 10 years. So up here, I'm just going to put 120 months. And I'm going to fill that in for that's how many number of payments there are remaining. The payment is going to be 400 a month. The future value is going to be 0. And the interest rate that we're collecting on this thing, I believe, is 6.5. I'll just put that in there. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So we got 120 months, 10 years at 6.5, $400 a month. That's not that's not enough. I gotta go to 240 months. 6.5 future value. So anyway, let's say there's $400 a month. I could sell these monthly payments. Let's set this to 0. That's more like it. So I could set, let's go back to 120. That's about where we are with this loan. I think it's right around this. So I could sell 5 years of this $400 a month. 5 years times $400. 5 times 400. If I needed to get my hands on 2 grand right now, no, that's 60 months times 400. It's 24 grand. So I could sell this $24,000 worth of monthly payments to a friend of mine for, I don't know, 20 grand. And I'll get 20,000 today, and I'll give him $400 a month for the next 5 years. I'll do quarterly payments, of 1,600 bucks every quarter. And at the end of 5 years, I would get that $400 payment stream come back. And my investor would be getting, let's say I calculated out, let's put 24,000 in here. Let's make that a negative number. And let's give him 10% return. And that's going to be for 60 months. He's going to get 10% return. He's going to get a 10% return over the 400 bucks a month for the next 5 years. And then I get those monthly payments back to me. And then I can just take that. That's called selling a partial. And I can just take that partial and do that again and again across the board on several loans if I need a lump sum. So let's say a new note came along and I've got these slow payers, 400 a month, 400 a month, and I've got another one that's 1,500 a month. I've got another one that's 250 a month, and I just add these up and go sell these partials to people like you that are, hey, look, I would love to get an 8% return or a 10% return in my retirement account. And you sell off these partials, and it gives a lump sum to you to go out and do something with that. Hopefully, it's another investment. And that's called selling a partial. You could also, like I did with the uncle, I was actually selling him the note at face value of 60,000 bucks. And he could take that note and start collecting his monthly payments now to get that money back, and get whatever interest rate was written on that original mortgage, which is sweet. And that essentially, folks, is the note business. Now, like I said earlier, that things have changed. We don't have a 9% default rate anymore with the non-performing note business. There are still a ton of notes out there. We have all kinds of tools that we hunt these notes down. We can call banks, we can call hedge funds, we can call private investors like myself. I have people constantly contacting me, asking me if I have notes to sell, and I do. And I've gotten into private lending, and this is what I'm going to cover next week with my retirement account. I want to get into it a little bit with you folks tonight, just to get you a little bit excited about what I've been doing. So, I've joined a couple of different groups, and in these groups, I found some real estate investors that don't have any money, and that's pretty common, which is a good thing because I've got a few bucks now that I can play around with. And I lent 25,000 the beginning of January, the beginning of February. So today is, during this recording, is February 18th. I lent someone 25,000 bucks as an earnest money deposit so that this guy is out there wholesaling houses. He needed 25,000 to lock this property up under contract. And so I lent him 25,000. I created a promissory note, and he used that money to lock this thing up. And the end of February, he's going to pay me a 10% return. So that's a 10% return in 30 days. He just needed the money. And he's going to make so much money wholesaling this thing that he's like, I'll give you 10% every 30 days. That's pretty typical. That's freaking awesome. So that's 120% return annualized. If I could get that 25 grand back out when he gives me 27.5 and I can get that 25,000 bucks back out there and do it again and do it again and do it again, my retirement account will explode. Uh, this money game, folks, this is where it's at. Now, maybe a lot of people right in the very beginning don't have 25,000 bucks to lend, but I partner with people. If you had five and I've got 20 that I could give this kid to wholesale this deal, let's partner up. You get 25% or 20%, wherever the percentages work out to as far as the balance in your retirement account, and off you go. I mean, that's serious, serious business, serious way of making money. So what I wanted to show you here real quickly, these right here, this is the classroom that I've created on all of the different topics of stuff that I've actually talked to you about. Um, all the different classrooms that I've created to teach this business and possession of the collateral file, completing the transaction, boarding the notes, choosing your partners, finding partners, everything that I can think of that I cover in this school program is in this classroom. And this is where my students go and go through the training modules. And then every 2 weeks on Thursday night, I hold a Zoom webinar. It's not a webinar, it's actually a meeting where we can chat with each other, we can talk, and we've got the ability to communicate. And after everybody goes through some of these classes, they're like, hey, I don't understand what you're talking about with the collateral file, doing this, that, and the other thing. And I hope you're actually writing down questions that you have too, because we're going to do a Q&A at the end as well. And this program, typically, we've got all these classes, and this is a 1 year program that I teach. And every other week, we do that live Zoom. So that's 24 live Zoom meetings that we hold, and you get a chance to meet all the other students. I've got 12 students in there right now, and I'm back. I'm really back and getting back into teaching in teaching mode and doing these webinars and getting to meet people. And so that's what this program is. Let me just put my glasses on here. So this one, these are all of the previously recorded Thursday night calls going all the way back to 2019. And I mean, there is just a ton of information. Um, I teach how to make money brokering notes. There's three or four aspects of this business. Brokering notes, which means you go out and find notes, and then I help you and I get you involved in my network. If you found 30 notes, all right, let's broker out 20 of these and keep 10 for ourselves. You go find the assets, you contact, that's your bank contact. I would never steal your bank contact. You did the hard work finding them. I will help you broker these things out. Um, that has been, that's how I got into this business. I started this business with, I had 100 grand in my 401k from work. And so I took that 100 grand and I was able to buy some notes, but we were paying a lot for these things. We found banks were a lot cheaper than I was buying off my mentor, but I still made money off my mentor. And I started when our mentor stopped selling notes to us. I'll just say that he stopped selling all notes to us. I went out on LinkedIn and I found a hedge fund that would actually sell me notes at a great price. It was just a fantastic relationship that I built, and I learned a ton about how to broker notes. Um, it has to do with building a network. It has to do with the proper paperwork that I want to make sure that we're not getting ripped off. And I've been brokering notes now pretty much since I started, maybe 16 years worth of brokering. And I want to get back into it and I want to take you guys with me. So we've got all of these recorded calls. It it just goes on and on. Um, it really is just a crazy amount of information that we've been able to accumulate over these past 19 years. And so I just wanted to show you a little bit about what's going on in the back room. So for you folks that are not familiar, I use the school platform for teaching. I have an actual, here's, this is what's going on right now. I've got 55 people in here that are members. Like I said, 12 of them are paid students, and the rest are just really interested in the note business. Hopefully, some of you folks are actually on this call this evening. And what I'm doing is I'm letting this note conference business, that's what this is called. Right now, I've got a price on this of 99.97. And for anybody that has been on this webinar, I'm going to take 2,000 bucks off of that. If this is for you, I don't want people that are not in this business signing up. I just want people that are really freaking interested in what's going on with this business. I would love to give you this course at a discount just because I can. And I've got testimonials. If you guys want to actually go to, I'm going to put this here in the chat. And you can go ahead and join this group. And like I said, anybody, I'm going to go through the itinerary of who actually is in this meeting this evening. And if you guys want to sign up, send me a message, join this school community, and then just go right up here to my name and click. I don't know how you do it. Should be able to just hit chat. I don't even know how to do my own community, but you'll be able to pull down the menu and say, "Hey, listen, I was on your webinar the other night. Um, I'm going to keep this open for a week. Like I said, if you guys want to actually schedule a call with me, I'll put this link in there too. Now you should be able to actually save this chat box. Spent a lot of time today messing around with Zoom. This, like I said, this is the first webinar that I've done in maybe 4 years, and I'm going to get going on a regular basis and start getting some new people into this community, teaching the business. I can tell you it's going to get more expensive. The only reason I'm at this price right now. Let's see who's all right. Great. Okay, so go ahead and join this thing right now, guys. I can actually show you how we're getting in there. Um, so the only reason that I'm at 9,997 is because if I change the price, I can only go to 10,000. I can't go to 10,001. I'm putting a one in there and it's going back to a zero. Um, I think that's a very reasonable price for the amount of time that I can jumpstart you ahead. 19 years worth of experience in 1 year. And I'm talking about all aspects of this business. If you want to start brokering, that's great. If you want to start buying, it's even better. Um, it, there's finders, funders, and investors. It's good to be all three, but when I started out, I only had a very limited amount of money, and I learned how to partner real quick because I wanted in, but I didn't have an unlimited source of funds. And so I started partnering with people, and that was really cool because I got to see more deals. I got to polish my skills, and I'm only into the deal for 5 grand. Maybe my partner's into it for 25 and I've got five into it. But I wanted to work the deal because I love working deals. My partners are like, oh, hell yeah, man, go for it, knock yourself out. And that's how I got so good at doing what I'm doing, um, without trying to brag. But I have literally talked to hundreds of people over the years about their portfolios and worked through other people's portfolios with my skill set to see thousands of loans. I've worked literally on thousands and thousands of loans. And you get to see everything when you're in that space. And hopefully you folks get to a point where you're so into it as well. If I can keep you enthused about buying money at 30 cents on a dollar. I have not found anything better. I have been looking. I just went to a real estate meeting 3 nights ago. I sat down with the organizer. I paid for a VIP ticket just so I could sit down with this guy for an hour. And he's like, I know what you do. I see your stuff. I know. Why are you here? I said, I'm still looking to see if there's anything better than what I already do. He said, the only thing that I can think of that would be better than what you already do is to take your knowledge and get into the commercial mortgage space. That's my pursuit right now because the numbers are a lot bigger. I'm not buying a $60,000 non-performing note anymore. I'm buying a $30 million note. And that's my next level. And that's it it's the same thing, just add a few zeros to do what we already do. I mean, foreclosure is foreclosure. I got a friend of mine who's foreclosing on a $3 million note that he owns. And I say, Robert, it's just different numbers. It's going to cost you approximately the same to start foreclosure than it is for me to foreclose on a $20,000 non-performing note. He's like, really? I said, well, it might be what, quadruple, because there's going to, but it's easier. Commercial is actually easier because the foreclosure laws are much more favorable to the landlord than if I was to kick someone out of their house with a foreclosure in our business. Because residential, you've got a lot more hoops to jump through to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. And so that's where I'm at. So listen, if you guys have questions, please feel free to type it in the chat, and I would love to see what you guys have to say about this. I hope the chat is actually functional. Well, I'm not seeing any questions in here. Chat is disabled. Thanks, Mike. I will fix that for next week. Next week, I am doing a webinar on self-directed IRAs. I touched on it a little bit this evening. I want everybody to have a self-directed IRA. I teach that in my note conference business course on self-directed IRAs. And then obviously I answer any questions that my students have about their self-directed IRAs. And that is truly my other passion. I found out about these things in 2007. I've been able to grow my retirement account um, ridiculously, and I feel everyone should do that. The government allows us to invest. So let's just use that 400 bucks a month. So we've got, let's say that money came in, I got $6,000 that came in. I'm out eight. I got six that came back, and now I'm going to get 400 a month for the next 120 months. That money just stacks up in my IRA, 400, 400, 400. 1 year, 4,800 bucks. 2 years, $10,000. Now I got to go out and take that 10 grand and go buy more notes, add it to my other money, tax free, folks, tax free. You're going to use the same link. You're already registered for next week's webinar on self-directed IRAs. And I really look forward to seeing you all on that webinar. I really appreciate you folks taking the time to sit down and listen to my hacky webinar. Um, but I really am passionate about everyone else's success. Um, I hope you can tell that. So again, thanks everybody for being on. Have a great night, and I'll see you next Wednesday when we get into my other favorite topic, self-directed IRAs. All right, folks, take care.